Welcome to The Truth in This Art, your source for conversations at the intersection of arts, culture, and community. I am your host, Rob Lee. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, and tuning in as always. It's really important for us to get these stories out there the way that they need to be heard. So, we're a podcast that likes to have folks come on and share their story, really get into so that the thinking and the nitty gritty of how they do what they do. So today, I am thrilled to introduce my next guest, a Nigeria-born, Baltimore-based visionary behind Yelé, which blends Afrofuturism and modern fashion to celebrate African heritage. My guest has been recognized by Essence and Yahoo News and featured in Visa's She's Next 23. Yelé is refining luxury fashion. Please welcome Abisola Oladeinde. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so very much, Rob. I appreciate you.
Thank you for coming on. It's good to see. It's about energy, right? We already started with the good energy. We were, ha-haing and kikiing before I hit
I
the
know.
button. So
Uh-huh.
it's a good way to go into it. Like you'll have some folks who do an interview, right?
Mhm.
And it's no depth to it. It's just a bunch of compliments, but nothing that really gets to it. And
Mm.
I like to kind of, connect with the person. Yeah, you'll hear it all the time.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it makes me comfortable. I'm like, okay, I can share.
Yeah,
Right.
because I'm tricking
Right.
y'all. Because
Yeah.
I'm tricking y'all to get all the juicy details. Who's messy? Who's behind the scenes? So before we get into those said messy details and all of the thinking that
Mhm.
goes in, um, you know, I want to invite you to introduce yourself. And the reason I say that, I think there's a lot of power in how we present ourselves to potentially a new audience that often goes beyond sort of the bio, the press clippings, and the artist statement.
Mhm.
But in your own words, could you introduce yourself?
In my own words, I
Yes.
am Abisola Oladeinde. And I am a Nigerian fashion designer based in Baltimore. I am married with no kids yet, but that's enough of my personal story. Let's go back to my business story.
I like it. And that's the thing. Like when you do the intro, like I know when I interviewed someone a while back, and I'm
Mhm.
going over all the details. They've done press for this and that, and they're like, "All right, number one, I'm a parent. Number two, I'm a human." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah." So it's like I got the sort of online thing, and I like to get the real one from the person. Being like, look, as I said before we got started, somebody
Mhm.
might introduce me as a podcast. I'm like, I'm the dude that wears the 4-inch inseam shorts.
Mhm.
No one that's out there that the ass
I will introduce you as that next time.
that's Ashy Lag Rob right there, the big Ash.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so in that vein, could you give us a glimpse into your journey? You touched on fashion design. You touched on sort of your background, but in doing some of the research, you touched on very speciously. In doing some of the research, it's not just hey, one day I started like, yeah, I'm gonna look at this fabric. I'm gonna make this. This is what I'm doing. Here's some textiles.
Mhm.
Give us a glimpse into your journey. Where'd where's the sort of early inspirations? Where's those like initial moments and even some of the pivotal moments along the way to where we're at now? Give us sort of the story, if you will.
I wish it was like I look at fabric and boom. I wish that was how it was, but it's not like that. At like a very early stage, my grandmom and my auntie were both like fashion designers, but I had absolutely no interest. I wanted to be a doctor. So it was like, okay, I was seeing all these things happening around me, and people were telling me story of how my grandma is such a phenomenal fashion designer. I'm like, okay, good for her. I still want to be a doctor. And it's like, okay, you're such a great science student, and that's all you want to do. And that's all I wanted to do. I was very good with sciences. Like, I didn't think that I would have anything to do with art. In fact, I was a snob. Just that bad. I was such a snob. So like because of all of that, like my journey to fashion was like I was going like this and a boom. It was a complete turnaround. And what happened was I was so from a young age, I had my own like sense of style that I liked that I wasn't seeing everywhere. So because of that, I turned to like custom design. So I went to like our tailor to get my designs made. And I was like, okay, I want it like this and I want it like this. Mind you, I was a teenager. And then she was like, I'm so tired of you. Like, you're always complaining. You like, okay, just come to my tailor shop and just learn how to use the sewing machine. That's all you're going to learn. Like, just know how easy it is. And maybe you stop complaining the way you complain. So I did. I was like, challenge accepted. I'm going to do this. And then I went and I saw it was not easy at all. But I tried my best. I learned how to use the sewing machine. Like that was like all I learned from her, like how to just use the sewing machine. And the sewing machine are the difficult ones, like the OG sewing machines, not this these singers that are using now. I say OG singers, the ones that after you finish is like a workout. You just finish working out using the sewing machine. So that was all I learned from her. Then after that, I went to college, studied microbiology. And while I was in college, I was still like going in and out, like just using the sewing machine a couple of times because I was like, I learned that in one time ago. Let me just look at it again. And then after college, my dad bought me my first sewing machine at 21. And I was like, oh, that's like a nod from my dad that I could go into this thing that I like, though, even though I want to be a doctor. But it's fine. And then before I knew it, I started making little pieces for myself. And then people saw it and they liked it. And I was like, okay, I can make it for you too if you're nice to me. And then I made it for a couple of people. And before you knew it, I was like, okay, now I'm going to start charging money for this. Okay. And then here I am. It was a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of self-practice, a lot of just looking here and there, learning from this person for like, a few minutes here and there. And before, like, I just practiced and grew and grew and grew. And here I am.
Thank you. That
Yeah,
is
I hope you enjoyed my story. Thank you.
this is the end of my TED talk. No. I
Yep.
dig it. And I dig it when you have that sort of early moment where you're like, I don't know, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this microbiology, I'm gonna do the science real quick.
Yeah.
There's a like I watch sci-fi, watch like action movies, and I watch comic book movies, and they talk about comic book movies sort of like variants and alternatives. There is a version out there of you that is sewing your own lab coats. There's a version out there. This isn't fashionable enough. Let me fix it. This doesn't fit my frame.
I know, right?
I can see
Like in
it.
the multiverse, there's like another multiverse out there with me being a doctor somewhere out there.
Yes, there's a
The
multiverse.
inflection point didn't happen.
There's a multiverse out there with me with properly moisturized legs. It's great. And it works.
Wearing pants, long pants.
Wearing extra long pants, the ones that actually are going over my feet.
Yeah.
So with it, you made that shift from sort of, you have this background that's in science, and you talk about folks having sort of both sides of their brain operating, and I have a business background. I have a business degree in marketing, entrepreneurship, and all of that stuff, and it serves me in what I'm doing here is from a like strategic standpoint. Like I can be on schedule. I know how to read a spreadsheet. I know how to write something. So talk a little bit about if there are any moments where sort of your educational background kind of converges with the background from YouTube and sort of the getting the reps in and the trial and the work within fashion.
Oh, of course. Like there are times when like I understand shapes more than a lot of people. Let's just put it that way, like the geometry of it and the angles of it. And I am so very good with math. Oh God. And with fashion design, that's what many people don't know. With fashion design, it's either you know how to calculate math or you have a calculator by your side. One of the two. And I'm very good with calculating. I'm like, okay, divided by 4, that's it. Something points, this, that's it. Like that is, I think that is like a point where both of them come together. And I'm like, okay, I'm good with shapes. I know how to make some kind of shape stand. And I know how to calculate the circumference to make it, cover a particular width or whatever. So it's like the geometry, the mathematical of it sort of like come in to play with my fashion design side. Yeah, and I'm always looking for that innovative edge, like, the material that is made from this organism instead of made from this animal to create more sustainable and ethical fabrics. So like those kind of knowledge of like microorganisms versus animals, so like also play into points when I'm sourcing for fabrics,
Sure.
for example. So it's all those little things that, come into play. But besides that, I'm a fashion designer now.
And that's the thing. Like it's owning it and it's putting it on. I was talking with a peer in the community
Mhm.
maybe last week, and I was mentioning I was interviewing you, and he was like, "She's crushing it." He's like, "That's gonna be a good interview." I was like, "I know it is." I was like,
Who is the person? Tell me the person name now.
I'll tell you off mic. I'll tell you off mic.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, it's like people see what you're doing. People see you out there, and
Oh,
you
that
know
means a lot to me because I'm out here feeling like I'm just bumping against walls. But yeah, thank you.
you're crushing it, and I saw the press out there. Um,
Yeah.
so, and this is sort of like the last like kind of introductory oriented question I want to ask you.
Mhm,
Um, so we have those moments that really stick out, and you
mhm,
mentioned sort of like having it around and sort of that family input, like your dad getting
mhm,
you the machine and
mhm.
your auntie, and you said your grandmother, your mom.
My grandmother and my auntie, both of
So
them.
both of them having that background, it's just like it's around. And then you having your own interest in fashion, like, look, I want this to fit me in a certain way, so make it so. Um,
Mhm,
talk about like that moment. Maybe it's something more recent that you were like, this is for me. This is
mhm,
gonna be what I'm doing. And I asked that because as we were touching on, it can be you're grinding. You feel like you're bumping into stuff. I do this. I'm 700
mhm.
plus interviews in. I don't know if people are listening sometimes. And I'm just like
Yeah.
doing it because I'm interested and doing it
Mhm,
because I think it has value. But, I made this decision that doing podcasting, doing this form of media, form of storytelling was something that was going to be a big part of my life. And that was important to
mhm.
me. When did you have that moment that fashion was going to be, this is going to be what I'm doing?
When did I have that moment? My Spider-Man moment. This is a very good question. For me, I feel like it's just little things that added up to make it be like my moment. I think I remember a defining moment. And it was when I got to the United States. So I was doing fashion back in Nigeria, but like the end point was to still like just do it for the meantime until I finished my master's because I have a master's in bioinformatics now. Just putting that out there. So I was like, I finished my master's and I become like a full-time professor, a tenure professor somewhere. That was the plan. That was like my plan. So I was just like, I'm just doing this for the meantime to keep myself busy because I don't want to be idle and all of that. But then I got to the United States and then one day out of the blue, someone just sent me a message. She was like, my fashion designer canceled on me. Can you fill in for me real quick? I have a photo shoot. I'm coming all the way from Philly. I'm coming to Baltimore. Can you like? And I was like, okay, like I do have some pieces that I could throw on the model and that I did that. And then the next day, it was a 2-day shoot. The next day, there was another shoot, and they were asking me if I had more pieces. I stayed up all night to make new pieces for the shoot for the next day. And then when I got the shoot was at Graffiti Alley, like at the back of the building that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
And then I got to the Graffiti Alley and then I dressed these models and everybody kept stopping them like, who made these dresses for you? Who made these dresses for you? And then to make like the icing on the cake, there's this photographer. He's legendary. He's a legendary photographer to me. Jazzy Studios. Jeffrey Butler is also in the model house, and his studio was facing the alley. So he saw my pieces and he rushed down to ask the models who was the designer that made the pieces, and they were like, "That's her." And I was like, why are they pointing to me? And then he came up to me and I was like, oh my goodness, I love your pieces. I think it will be great for like a photo shoot in my studio and all of that. And I think that was the defining moment for me. Like I was like, I love this thing so much that I stayed up all night to make new pieces for this shoot. And everybody was in love with it. I think that was the moment where I was like, okay, yes, I'm doing fashion. For real, for real. Not for fake. I'm doing for real.
That's really, really good. And
Yeah.
thank you for
Mm-hmm.
sharing that. Like getting that sort of, that gratification is like it is the icing, it's the cherry or whatever it is on top
Uh-huh.
of the sweetness. But the
Yeah.
sweetness is still being able to do it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that like sometimes this feels like work, you know what I mean? But those moments when you're able to say, damn, that was a really cool conversation. Or
Yeah.
wow, I really stretched the boundaries of what I know how to do
Mhm.
technically. And I'm really like, I'm getting these shapes right. I'm figuring things
Mhm.
out. So, you know, and this is where this sort of segue comes in, because I think it's a really good point to do the segue. You were talking about sort of like putting that work in for that 2 day shoot or what have you. Give us the rundown, because clothes just don't happen. Fashion just doesn't happen. So let's say something that you're working on coming up. Give us a rundown of what the process looks like. Of, hey, I know I want to do these looks, or I want to explore these fashions, or this material, or these colors. Talk about that process for you in making.
Okay, so let me see. For let's say last year's collection, for example. So the first thing that comes to my mind is, what story am I trying to tell with this collection? And the story I was trying to tell was the power of love. It was a love collection. It was centered around love for myself, love for others, love for God. So it was like that was the theme in my brain. So after knowing that that was the theme, I was like, okay, so what patterns and what symbols and what fabrics am I going to put together to tell this story? Now I moved on to the fabrics, and then I was like, what symbols am I going to put on these fabrics to tell this story? So I did a lot of research and I landed on two symbols, the power of love symbol and God's protection symbol. So I put those two symbols on the fabrics. What colors do I want to put? I pick the colors that I want in it. Okay, these are the colors, these are the symbols. Now let's go to the pieces themselves. What stories are these pieces telling? And then I have the give me my space piece. That one is like, I love myself. So give me my space. Let me be my own person. Let me self-empowerment. Let me be self-empowered and all of that. And then I have the pieces of the male and female, like the kimono piece, the is right here.
I'm looking at it. Yeah,
So the male and female version, the kimono pieces. I had the wedding dress and the groom's dress. So it was like the entire story was from self-love to loving others to the love of God, and then a relationship between one person and the other person. So that was like the entire story of that collection. So each piece, the symbols, the colors, everything was telling that power of love story.
yeah.
And I believe that like that's what goes on through my mind from beginning to the end. Yes.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would imagine, in developing pieces, as you were touching on, like there's sort of the thinking that goes in it, the research, and sort of all of this preparation even
Mhm.
before the cutting and the sewing and all of that stuff comes out.
Yeah.
So talk about that component of it as well, where, you know, I'm not doing all this by myself. Like most of this is me, but I have an editor, I have an assistant, and the editor is doing some of the cutting, but it's with that
Mhm.
direction. So talk about sort of that role. I mean, do you have 8 hands? Do you have extra arms? Because it's a lot of work.
I wish I did. So last year, starting from beginning of last year, I got 2 part-time employees. You can hear their noises in the background, even though I'm like, shh, shh, shh. I'm in an interview right now. But I have 2 employees like right here in the room with me. Do you want to say hi? No, they don't. So this is my assistant designer. This is Tishon.
Hi.
She's phenomenal. Phenomenal. She holds the ground like down when I'm not around. So like, yeah. So that's Tishon. She was my intern like 2 years ago. So she was my intern 2 years ago. She was from B Triple C. And then they sent her, or she actually registered to intern with me. And then after a year of internship, she was phenomenal. And I was like, okay, I gotta hire you. I can't let you go. So now she's my assistant designer. And then I also have my seamstress, who is not going to say hi. I have my seamstress, that's Shakila. So I have these two people that have been helping me since like last year. Shakila joined us later in the year, but Tishon has been with me from the beginning of the year. So those are the people that help me to make these dreams come true. They're my hands, my ears, and I'm not doing it alone. I have my dream team, and we'll continually expand, and all of that. So let's see. With the design concepts, yes, we brainstorm. I and Tishon brainstorm all the time. Like, okay, should I do this one here? Should I do that one here? She's like, it will be like that. I'm like, you're a genius. So we do a lot of brainstorming in the room, like back and forth. Like, this thing is not really like with the wedding dress, for example, which was like 3 or 4 people brainstorming on the wedding dress. It was like, okay, we made this. Should we make it a butterfly? Should we make it this, that? And someone just touched it funny or touched it one way. We're like, that's it. Hold it like that. Hold it like that.
You gotta capture that. You gotta get that. That's the shape you want.
Exactly. So a lot of brainstorming. Everybody's voice is heard. Like if you're in this room, your voice must be heard. I'm gonna ask you something because it's a way for me to grow, for you to grow, for us to all grow together. So that's how I do.
Collaboration is so important with it.
Yes, it is.
When I do this and I go through it, I'm like, yo, does this sound like trash? Should I ask different questions? And just really wanting that feedback and knowing that ultimately I'm doing the sort of sign off of it. I still have to ask the questions. I'm still responsible for it, but sort of getting that feedback from folks and asking for it. And a lot of times we don't get it. So to your point of having a strong team, a dream team, if you will, around you that you trust, and it's like, hey, this is a good idea. Let's go with it. That makes sense. That's riches right there. And especially when what you're producing, what you're making, isn't just clothes. They're is stories of culture, empowerment, and art. You pack a lot of meaning into your work and intentionality. Speak on that importance of having a story in what someone is wearing, like why that is important.
I think like everybody wears clothes. That's the first thing. Like
Most
everybody
of
wears
us.
clothes. Some wear shorts, but everybody wears clothes in one form or way or the other. And I feel like what you wear is like an expression of yourself. Not just an expression of yourself. Sometimes it's just an expression of your day. Sometimes just an expression of your mood. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing much today. I'm just gonna throw on a tea and whatever, and just go out. Like it's an expression of how you feel. And the same way from what you are like is from inside that you're bringing it outside is the same way. Sometimes from outside it sips inside. There's sometimes that you wear some pieces and you feel so freaking good. You're like, nobody can talk to me. Like nobody can tell me anything today. I look good. Like nobody can spoil my mood. Nobody can ruin my day. Nothing. Everything's going to fly off me just because I'm wearing this piece. So I feel like, yes, definitely clothes are a way to empower yourself, to give yourself confidence, to look good, to feel good, to gift yourself, to encourage yourself. I don't know if you're getting me. Are you getting me?
I'm absolutely getting you. Like, I'll put it this way: like today, I've dropped some weight and I'm able to fit into some of my old fits, or what have you. And I had like this pretentious cardigan on I could not fit for the longest time, and I'm wearing it. My boss is like, "That's a dope cardigan." I was like, "I know this whole thing," and I said it just like that. It's like the second time I've ever worn it, and it sat there for a while. Or even when I'm doing something like bouncing around out there in the community. I used to joke that I wear Carhartt all the time because I'm always working. And lastly, it's a certain mood. It goes along with it. And lastly, I'll say, my partner, she mentioned, she was like, "Yo, you're dressed like you're always down to do business." Like, what do you mean? She was like, not like in a pretentious, you're wearing like a tuxedo when you shouldn't be wearing a tuxedo. More so like you could be coming from the gym to a podcast to work. You just had to wear the same fit, and it looks like it fits in each one of these things. It's utilitarian. And I was like, I'm always in the move, so it makes sense. That's how I'm able to get so much done. It's like my fit is productive. I feel productive when I'm wearing it. So I definitely pick up what you're laying down.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's exactly how it feels. It's like, okay, what am I wearing today? What does it mean? And how can I feel what it's meaning? And just like, let's both of us just have a collaboration. Let me and my outfit have a collaboration together. Let me give what the outfit is giving.
Yes. So I gotta say, and I touched on this before we got into the conversation in earnest, but I loved your looks at Project Artscape at the end of last year.
Thank you. Thank
Your
you so much.
your work was one, if not the highlight of the show. Honestly,
Oh, thank
like I
you
said,
so much. Now, the next thing is for you, Rob, to come visit my studio so I can make you something that is one of a kind too. But let's continue the interview. Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't threaten me with a good time now. I hope you got enough fabric because there's a lot here. So I'm curious though, like, could you describe like the feeling, like put us in your head as to, you're about to have some looks go out there and it may be the first time that they're being seen by an audience. And it's like, I know I'm sweating bullets when I'm like, yeah, I got to get on stage. I got to present my work to people. It's like a book report. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
read that chapter. So tell me about the feeling when you're having some work that's going to be seen, like the work that you put this meaning in, this effort, these long hours, and folks are seeing it. Talk about that.
It's like I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm not scared. It's not fear. It's just nerves. I'm very nervous. I'm very anxious. I am hopeful at the same time. I'm hopeful that the story that I'm telling is being seen, that people see the story, see the way it is transitioning. They see the transitions. That is one thing too. Like when I make pieces, some of them transform, and I hope that they see the transformation and they appreciate the effort that is put into it. And then at the end of it, I'm just joyful, grateful that it has happened, it's over, it's fine. I'm all right. Nobody tripped off the stage, it was
It's like, ooh, they
it
look
was
good. Yeah. They look good when they fell.
yeah. And it was received well. So at the end, it's just from nervousness all the way down to just gratefulness. That's usually like the entire thing. That's how it be. It's like a curve. It starts like
Mhm.
and then it comes back down. So that's the mix of feelings that happen. But I'm grateful and relieved at the end. Yeah.
And then speaking with feelings, like obviously I think, I'm getting it from this and folks are getting it as they listen to this, having a good sense of humor, being able to laugh, I would imagine
Mhm.
is really helpful when you're making something. Like it's a lot of effort, it's long hours, I'd imagine. And like I said, I wear Carhartt and dusty like leggings sometimes. We out here. But when someone is making something that's bespoke, when someone's making something that has meaning, there's a gamut of feelings, and
Mhm.
all of them can't be the serious ones. All of them can't be
No.
that. You got to be a little goofy sometimes. You got to be able to
Yeah.
laugh sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm an introvert. I was still saying today that I'm an introvert, but I know how to entertain myself.
Yeah.
Like if I'm by myself, it's just like me and someone else. Oh my goodness. I am very, very, very interesting. I'm an interesting person, but I'm a quiet person. So sometimes when I'm working, I talk to my sewing machine. I'm like, come on, behave the way you're supposed to behave. Why you behaving like this? Be a good girl. Good girl for so sometimes I do talk to my same machine. Sometimes, we just have a good laugh here. Like I and Tisha and Shakira just have a good laugh. Something crazy happens to the same machine, or something crazy just happens that we have a good laugh. And sometimes it's just music. We don't listen to music often, but sometimes when we do, it's just to move body, let us feel good.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we just record ourselves.
Well, and that's the thing. Like there are times when, and I'm sure because like I said, having an editor, having someone to chop this stuff up, because sometimes the record button is on, and I'm talking to the recording of me before the interview. I'm like, yo, Rob, why are you doing it this way? And I'm like, yo, this is wild. It's like I want my editor almost one time just to send me back a second file of all of my outtakes of me talking to my equipment. I'll
Mhm.
just put it out there. It's like, yeah, I'm just talking to another artist, me. That's the thinking. That's the thinking there.
My goodness. No, like you've told me your secret now. I'm keeping it.
Someone's going to be listening to you very intently. So at minute 51, you said this. Are you talking to the guest or yourself? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. So I got like sort of two more real questions before we get into these rapid fire questions. Because everyone
Mhm.
now I touched on it a bit earlier. Everyone has their go-to style. Mine is that utilitarian. I'm being productive. Um, and we have a fit, whether it's or a sense of style, whether it's running an errand or a night out. How would you describe your personal style and perhaps how that personal style like blends into like and spills into your designs?
My personal style is just bougie. I I can't help it. It's just bougie. Like I dress up sometimes and be like, "Are you going to work?" I say, "Yeah, I'm going to work."
That's great.
My personal style. I love feeling good. I love looking good. And so I love making other people feel and look good. So I'll say it's Afro luxury. Is giving business casual, is giving formal, is giving red carpet. So so like it just sips in. It's like it's heavy. It's heavy. It has weight. Like that's the vibe. It's yeah. It's giving one of a kind. It's giving I walk into a room, everybody look at me. That's how it is. Like that is how I always like even when I dress down, it's still looking dressed up. I don't even try so hard. I'm like, I'm not really trying.
Like I'm not this. Man, I was
Like
just man
this
over
whole
there.
thing. Yeah, I dressed up one time, and then someone was like, "Oh, wow, you look so good. Is this new?" I'm like, "No, this whole thing is 2021. I'm in 2021, but it looks good. I'll take it." So, so like that is it. It's like Afro luxury. It's bougie. I love bougie Afro luxury. It's like make me feel good. Let me look good. Let everybody know that I look good. Let everybody know that I stepped into this place without me talking. Let me start conversations with what I wear. Like I don't really say much. I just get in and everybody's like, "Oh, I love that." And then the whole conversation starts. Like that is it. That's Yelé. Period. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. It's in there. And I've gotten that with like accessories. Like I said, you've seen me, so it's just like I take up a fair amount of space. I'm like, yo, how can I blend in? But when I make those instances of, look, I'm showing out right now. I remember, I had this. It was this New Year's, and I still look at it. It was this New Year's Eve party, and I
Mhm.
wore like a burgundy suit, which is one of my go-tos. It's burgundy
Okay.
with like I think it was like a satin shirt. I was on one. And
Mm.
it's burgundy with the pinstripes. So it was just like thin pinstripes, you gotta look thin. And
Mhm.
I was like, yo, this is what we're doing. And I want to be able to throw that on a bit more, that sort of aesthetic, without it feeling like because I like burgundy a lot. That's one of my colors. And I want to be
Okay,
able to
now I
throw
know.
that
I'm
on.
gonna write it down. So for when you come in. Yeah.
That's fantastic. But yeah, that's sort of what it is. I call it the blood of my enemies. But
Ooh,
look, we out here.
okay.
You mentioned bougie. Mine's is Afro American. Smoke. So your clothes also your fashion also has is obviously it's a mix of African like iconography and techniques and sensibilities, but also global influence. How do you kind of weave both of those together? Because sometimes the cultures can be very congruent at times, and other times it's like, these go together maybe in this way. So how do you kind of marry the two like ideologies?
How do I marry it? It's more like I believe that my taste is heavy in some of the things that I create. It's like I see myself wearing this and I think they go together. So it's gonna go together. And then I love to also push boundaries. I'm like, people have not seen print done in this way. I'm gonna do it just because, maybe they don't know that it will go together. So let me show them that it does go together. So like when I mix like a shiny futuristic fabric and I put it with like adire, traditional adire, and I'm like, okay, yes, see, it goes together. So it's like, so that is like it's like the way I want it to be, the way I would like to see it done. That's how, that's just it. Like, it doesn't feel like something difficult for me to do. It's just something that this is how I see it, this is how I think it will work, and I've not seen it out there before. So let me put it out there and see, let's show people that it can be done. That's mostly it. Yeah.
The science thing is in that though. Of here's my hypothesis.
Okay. Let's hear it.
That's what I'm that's what I'm thinking. Like when you're saying like I believe that these things go together. You may not see it, but this is my hypothesis. These go together. Now I'm going to show you that they go together. Here's a trial. And this is
yeah, testing. Yes.
Yeah. See, I make these connections sometimes. I may have read a book once.
Yeah. You got it.
So here's the last one, and this is maybe a little peek behind the curtain. So what's something like super recently? We're recording this like in February, 2024. What is something that you've seen recently that has sparked some interest, some creativity? It doesn't necessarily have to be something in fashion, but something that you're like, hey, I see this flower, I see this, building, or you see something that you're like, I'm curious about that shape. How would that look maybe in this format? How it's something that has caught your eye that may show up in your work in the future.
Okay, so recently I started thinking of umbrellas.
Sure.
Like, the way they shape out, and I was like thinking that, I was just thinking of the shape of umbrellas, the way they're like tiny, like small rectangles or small cones. Is it cone or coney shape, something like that? And then they're all put together, and then they have like this skirt. Like an umbrella is like a skirt. Like when I think about it, it's like if I wear it like this, like a skirt, and then there are these iron things that make it stand the way it's standing. So if I make it as a skirt and I put the iron things like the umbrella, it's going to look like an umbrella skirt. So so that's something that just recently came to my mind that I'm playing with. And then recently I've been looking at trees. I've been looking at trees, the way the branches go, like what is making them stand, how they can stand on a fabric or on a person, like the branches like coming out like this. How would that look? I don't know yet, but that has been interesting to me. And what else? It's just this funny things that I just look at and I just see. It's like, okay, how would this be like if I made it into fabric, or if I made it into dress? And then another one, the beautiful one, the most beautiful one is this clay pattern, like the way people use clay, like to mold and what's it called? Polymer clay. The way they use polymer clay to like make vases and make wall art. And I'm like, I think I can interpret that with fabrics, like with pleats and tucks and all of that. And that's something that I really, really, really want to explore. Yeah.
So we can look forward to umbrella references, trees, and like that's what's coming for.
Yeah. So yeah, she's going for that. And then this year we're doing blazers. We are redefining the power suits. That's what we're doing this year. We're redefining power suits. So like all these concepts are gonna put it into the power suit. So watch out for that. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it comes from different places, and being able to see sort of, the art of noticing, the art of observation, things that are around you. It's like, I feel like a dress can mirror like a parasol, an umbrella, what have you. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. We got it. We got the main stuff. Now, here's the rapid fire portion.
I'm ready.
Are you?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll give you the same rundown I give everyone. You don't want to overthink these. These are sort of quick, answers or what have you. And that's it. Like what you said is what you said. That's kind of what it is.
Okay.
All right. So here's the first one. Tell us about in 2 to 3 words. Yelé. Well, 2 to 3 words. What is it? Give it to us. Like fashion, bougie. Like what?
African, authentic, luxury.
All right. That's number one. Number one down. Okay, you're doing well so far.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed it early. We made a few references and I listened to you. So, what's your favorite superhero movie?
Spider-Man.
All right. Okay. Follow-up question.
Okay.
Tom Holland or Toby or Andrew? Which one?
Definitely Tom, the young boy. It's that young boy. And then I love the Miles. I like Miles, but I don't know who Miles is, but I just like Miles in the animation version of. In fact, that's actually my favorite one. The animation, this Into the Spider-Verse. That's my favorite.
Because I mean, I'm just saying, like, pretty tight. Is there a textile material that you really want to work with that you have not, like that either it's not available, that it's not cost prohibitive, or it's cost prohibitive, or whatever reason it might be, but you really want to work with that you haven't worked with yet? Like say steel or something. I want to work with metal. Like, whoa, chainmail. Like you put on armor.
Let me see. Chains.
Okay.
Yeah, chains. Like I
Wasn't too
would
far.
like to work with like chains, like the connecting chains thing. Yeah, that would be interesting.
I think it would be very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, this is the last one. This is sort of the, and I'll preface this. Some people like give you the very refined and crystal answer. I want something that I like weird answers. Like the rapid fire portion of the pod is for folks to be fun. So what is something you could never get enough of?
My husband.
It's a great answer. It's a great answer. He's listening to this. He's like, hell yeah. Damn right, you can't get enough of me.
Yeah. I'm going to record this particular part and send it to him. I'll be like, see, I tell you, I love you. This is right here, proof.
We're recording this a day after Valentine's Day, by the way, which makes it even funnier.
Mind blown. That's it.
That is great. And that's pretty much it for the pod. So one, there's two things I want to do. One, I want to thank you for coming on and spending some time with me. It's been
thank you for having me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And two, absolutely. And two, we got to do shameless plugs. So I want to give you the space and opportunities to tell folks where they can check you out, your work, social media, website, all of that good stuff. The floor is yours.
Thank you all very much for watching so far. I appreciate you. My name is Yelé. And you can find me on all social media platforms, Yelestitches.com. Yelestitches. And the stitches has an extra T. Please don't forget that. Don't block our blessings. So Yelestitches on all social media platforms. My website is Yelestitches.com. And if you want to reach out to me through email, you can reach out to me at Yelé, Yele, at Yelestitches.com. That's it. If you just know Yelestitches, that's it. Type it anywhere, you find me. That's it.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Abisola Oladeinde for coming onto the podcast and sharing a bit of her journey with us and telling us more about Yelé. Yelestitches, Yelé. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, and community in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.